Hello and welcome to a bonus video adding images to exercise 2 I am in HTML. Now remember, you can always go back and look at chapter 7 in part 2 HTML for structure in the class text for more information on adding images to your HTML document. All right, let's go to our pen, and for exercise 2, and after the header element, I'm going to drop down because we're going to nest in an image element like so. So right before the H1, we're going to add an image. And you'll notice that this is an empty element, okay? What they call an open or an empty element. So there is no closing image element, all right? So what we now need to do is add our attribute source equals, and now we need to add our value inside of the quote marks, and the value is the path, and in this case we're going to use an absolute path. So we're looking out on the server for something, in this case an image, that is in a particular place on a particular server on the internet. Okay, so if I'm just going to hide my browser here for a moment, and I'm using CyberDuck to FTP content back and forth from the server. And there is a video associated with the project on how to FTP to the server. All right, so you'll notice if I open a connection, we're using SFTP. The server name is matt.miracosta.edu. The port is 22. And then the username and the password are your surf credentials. And then, of course, you would connect. I'm already connected, so I'm just going to cancel that connection. And we can see our files on the server. So we're in the Matt server. We have matt125_prior. That is our class folder open. Then we have the student work folder open. Then I have my student folder, or my folder open. And then I'll open the images folder. And what we're going to do is drill down to Russ Prior icon JPG. Okay. Now I've already typed this out in my browser, so I'll just bring this back up and go to the tab. And here's that image in the folder. And if you look at the path up here, you'll see matt.miracosta.edu. Then we have our class folder. Then we have the student work folder. Then we have prior, images, and finally we are at the image inside. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this absolute URL, absolute path. And we're going to go back to our pen, and in the value for our attribute, we will paste in this absolute path. Okay. Now this image, I believe, is 288 by 288 pixels. Let's just take a look real quick. I'm going to open my images folder I have on the desktop, and then I'll just double click and open this. I'm opening this in preview. If you're using a Windows machine, then you would have an application for your images which you use in that environment. This is just a really simple image editor in the Mac OS. Okay, so I'm going to go up to Tools and just look at Adjust Size, and I'll see that my image is in fact 288 by 288, and the resolution is 72, which is the resolution you would use for a web image. Okay, so this image is 288 by 288, and it has a unit of pixels. Okay, so let's go back, and what we're going to do is right at the end of our attribute and value for our source is we will now add width equals 288, and we don't have to type in pixels or any sort of a unit. It's just 288. And then our height equals 288. Okay. And lastly, we want to add alt equals, so this is an excuse me, this is an alternative in case the image doesn't load, or this can also be used by a reader for someone accessing the site that would need the description of the image read to them. So this will be Russ Pryor cartoon. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and save. We'll go to change view and the debug mode, and we should see our image. If we go back to our pen, and let's say we do this at half, 144, 144, and save. Let's see if this updates correctly here. So we'll just refresh, and you'll see that your image is smaller. Okay, so you can increase or decrease the size or scale of your image, though it's not ideal. If you reduce the size, that's one thing to a degree, but I'd be very aware, very careful of increasing the original size. Not necessarily a good idea. The image quality will really drop off. All right, so there you go. Adding an image to exercise 2, I am, in HTML.